at the world's largest yard sale, I was approached by this lady who came up and said, "You may not remember me, but I remember you from like 20 years ago. You came to our house. We had a benefit for our son, and I just wanted to tell you that he's come a long way since then. He is now an MMA fighter." And I exactly remember going to this benefit. It was out on 28 near Bobolink in East Aurora. I stopped in. I had maybe a WYRK T-shirt or something to hand to the family and kind of hung out for a little while. And I said, we got to get this guy on the air.
Yeah.
His name is Morgan. He goes by the name Mitch Cavanagh now when he does his fighting, and he's in the studio with us this morning. Good morning, Morgan.
Good morning, Clay. How are you doing? Thanks for having me.
What an incredible story. First of all, why did we have that benefit back 20 years ago? What was going on?
Well, 20 years ago, I was 5 months old, and on a camping trip with my family, I fell off of the cot that I was laying on and suffered an epidural hematoma, which is internal bleeding in the brain. And the first hospital I was sent to pronounced me dead and said there's very little hope, which then they transported me on life support to Children's Hospital in Buffalo, and they performed emergency surgery and told my family to pray however they wanted and just to hope a little boy would come home that next day.
Wow. When did things start to turn around for this? Clay went to the event, and what happened?
What happened was the initial outlook after the surgery wasn't so great. They honestly thought that I was going to be a vegetable for the rest of my life, and they put me in a medically induced coma after the surgery. And when I woke up, I was actually kind of like, I don't want to say normal, but there wasn't really much different about me.
Amazing.
That's an amazing story.
Yeah.
So as you grow up, you said you saw MMA on television, you thought you might like it, but as someone who as an infant had a traumatic head injury, a brain operation, and all of a sudden you want to go into something that most likely you are going to get hit in the head, how did your parents feel about that?
Well, the doctors told my parents after the surgery and after they realized that I might actually make it out okay and fine, not to treat me any differently than they would any other child. So growing up, I played football, I played baseball, I'd run around, wrestle around with my brothers. So to me, since it was so young when it happened, I don't even think about my head injury when making decisions like that, because I've never had a problem with it personally.
We're talking to Morgan Cavanagh, known as Mitch Cavanagh, on the MMA circuit right now. 20 years ago, you might have read about him. There was a story featured in the Buffalo News called Miracle Morgan. 21-year-old, he's an MMA fighter. What's your training like for this whole thing? Because obviously this is something you have to work at all the time.
Yeah, training can get pretty intense. I train at WNY MMA and Fitness up in North Buffalo off Elmwood. There's just a big group of guys there that like to train and work out and push each other.
And beat on each other.
Yeah, we just like beating each other up, honestly. We get in the gym, we like make that eye contact, like it's ready to, are you ready to go? And then we just start training and improving each other.
You have aspirations to turn professional. You're an amateur right now, but what do you have to do to turn professional?
Yes, right now I'm a 6-2 amateur fighter. I'm 5-2 in MMA, and I had one kickboxing bout in which I won. And in order to make that pro jump, there's a couple different things. You have to have so many out-of-state fights because the MMA legality in New York is all funky still.
Yeah.
They don't really know what they're doing yet. So you have to get so many out-of-state fights, or wait for a pro promotion to come to the casino up in Niagara Falls. But in order to make the jump, you just have to feel like you're ready and that you're able to compete.
Was your mom willing to come and watch you in one of these fights? I mean, if you've ever seen MMA, it's intense. It's bloody.
Very.
It's bloody. So what was that like? Mom, I want you to come and see my cage fight.
Well, it's funny because back in 8th grade, when I was wrestling in middle school, I used to tell my mom, I'd see it on TV, and I'd be like, "Mom, I'm gonna be one of those one day. I'm gonna fight in the cage." And she just thought I was some little, I was just over my head, little kid, talking about his dreams and everything. And then as I started training for it, and it kept getting closer, I'd always tell her, like, Mom, are you gonna go? Are you gonna show up? She'd always tell me no, maybe, no. And then the day of my first fight, June 6th, 2014 or 15, last June 6th, I don't remember,
15.
honestly, yeah. She told me that she was going to go to my first fight, and in my first fight, I won in 1 minute and 47 seconds.
Jeez.
Wow.
Oh.
And I didn't even, like, get hit. And I think that was, like, the time that it set in that, like, I was serious about what I was always talking about.
So you just have to keep winning fights in less than 2 minutes. Is
yeah.
essentially what? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
It almost looks like anything goes in MMA. I mean, what can't you do?
There's no really dirty fight moves, like no eye rakes or groin shots, no fish hooking in the mouth. But other than that, it's, you know, if you can use your
Other than those three
Other
things.
than
Yeah.
that,
if you could use your, you know, hands and your feet to hurt the other guy, you can.
Is there a specific? We were talking to Brett Allen. He does a show after us, and he's a big fan of MMA.
Mm-hmm.
Was there a specific genre, or is that what you refer to?
Background?
Like, something that you're specifically trained in?
Yes, I've been wrestling since I was about 11, 10 years old. So I carried over my wrestling instincts and techniques over to MMA, and it's really, really helped me out so far.
Do you find that now that you go to a kickboxing class or a jiu-jitsu class, or because Brett was now saying that the origin of MMA was taking someone that was trained in jiu-jitsu and maybe taking someone that was trained in kickboxing and saying, have at it. But now that everyone kind of has to be pretty well-versed in all styles.
So what's the question? How do I
Do you
feel?
go to other class? Like, do you find yourself training under other?
Yes, I am always just training, trying to make myself a better, well-rounded fighter. I trained specifically on my wrestling and my jiu-jitsu for a pretty good period of time. So now that my grappling is up to a level that I'm happy with, that I'm able to compete and evolve pretty well, I'm starting to try to make my striking, my kickboxing, boxing, all that up to the same level.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
if they brought 6 guys into the room and asked us to pick out the fighter, you would probably be the last one we would
wouldn't
pick out.
exactly.
I would
Amazing.
never
Clean
imagine
cut.
you're,
I mean,
you're that kind of a guy.
Not what you would typically think
Yeah.
of a fighter. Well, Morgan and Mitz, same name, Morgan. Thank you so much for coming in today. When your mom approached me about this at the yard sale, I said, "Are you kidding?" First of all, I can't believe she remembered that I was there.
Wow.
And second of all, to see what you've done, we're very proud. That's amazing.
Thank you so much, Clay.
And you brought in some photos. We're going to share some of those on our website. We'll put the story up. You can see all of that right there. Mitz Cavanagh, thank you so much for coming in today.
Thanks for having me on.